Hello, and welcome to the World Refugee Sabbath 2019.
And it is the fourth time that we are doing a World Refugee program like this. And today we're in Germany. Why Germany, Corrado?
You know, Victor, I was in Lesbos and I met one refugee and he said, I'm all right, where is Germany? I say, maybe a little bit longer. But here we are in Germany now.
Because for many it was a final destination country, and we in this program want to look at what has happened to refugees who have been travelling through Greece, through Italy, through different countries, and have arrived at the country, hopefully, where they want to be. But before we go there, as I said, this is our fourth program.
Yes.
Let's just have a quick review of previous programs where we've headed from 2016 to 2018. So that's been our journey over the last 3 years, but the journey continues. As I discovered recently when I met up with Jonathan Duffy, he is the president of the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, and I caught up with him down by the Dead Sea in Jordan, where he was attending a leadership conference.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Duffy. I'm the president of ADRA, and I'm speaking to you today from the country of Jordan. You know, Jordan is not a wealthy country. It doesn't have oil like many of the other countries in the Middle East, but it has something very special. It has hospitality. And Jordan has taken in over 1 million refugees. And when I ask the people of Jordan, but doesn't this put a pressure on your system? How do you feel about these refugees coming in? The simple answer is, we're Jordanians. That's what we do. Wouldn't it be wonderful if the same mindset came from all of our churches? Why have you welcomed the stranger? Well, because we're Christian, because we're Adventists, because that is what we do. You know, in Matthew 25, Jesus talked about the stranger within our gates. And we're transitioning now in this history of refugees from people passing through to people staying, seeking a sense of belonging, seeking a new identity. They've been chased out of their land by violence, by politics, by natural disaster, and yet here we stand. They're looking for a new place to call home. Are we willing to welcome a stranger within our gates and help them to find a sense of meaning, a sense of belonging, a new sense of purpose in their lives? You know, as I take the time and I stop and I listen to people's stories, what I find is I no longer have a stranger, I have a friend. And I want to encourage us to take the time to stop, to talk, to listen, and discover that the stranger within my gates is not a stranger, but a friend. That when we see them, we see the face of Christ. Let us open our churches. Let us be welcoming to them. I've seen so many wonderful examples across the world of where the Adventist Church has welcomed the strangers within their gates. And it's just, there's incredible stories, but I think we have still many untold stories to tell. So I just encourage you, let's be welcoming, let's be like Christ, and take the stranger within our gates and give them a home, a sense of belonging, and discover new friends.
So, Jochen, Germany is the key country where the refugees were to go. And they arrived here. So they were looking for a shelter. Some people stand by them, some help. The church was really reacted very well. And let us know what really the church did.
Well, it was 4 years ago in 2015 when the peak of the crisis happened, and thousands of refugees arrived in Germany. They all were at the railway station, and a lot of people are there. And then we thought as a church we should offer some projects, some help, and therefore we invited all our entities in Germany to come together, to have a conference and to talk about what can we do together as a church to help refugees.
We say church, but finally, church is members. Let us know a little bit the reaction of the members, how they reacted.
Well, in Germany, there was a lot of willingness to help. Mm-hmm. And of course, our church member also, they come up with a huge willingness to help. But the big issue was to offer a structure, to organize the help. And then it was possible to bring together 4 different entities of our church. This was a Friedensau University, it was ADRA Germany, it was our social association from the church and the church itself. We come together and we implemented a work group to get the structure to help our church member how to work with refugees which arrived in Germany.
And how the refugees reacted, because of course, there were a relationship, some relation with them, okay? The reaction of the refugees.
Well, a big issue which was really important for us was the participation of the refugees for the help. So our goal was always not to help them, but to work together with them so they are included in what we are going to do with them.
So, and we will see now in a video clip really what's happened in one of the beautiful projects.
Café Welcome ist ein vielschichtiges Café.
Also hier lernen manche Leute Deutsch und ja, Hilfe gibt's da, Spaß und Spielen zum Beispiel für die Kinder.
Wir haben zusammen vor etwa 2 Jahren dieses Café Welcome ins Leben gerufen.
Da wurden wir gefragt, ob wir Räume für Geflüchtete und für die Arbeit mit Geflüchteten zur Verfügung stellen würden als Freikirche der Adventisten in Vilshofen. Wir haben uns gefreut, dann eine Zusammenarbeit beginnen zu können. Unser Café wird besucht mittwochs nachmittags von 16 bis 18 Uhr. Dabei sind auch viele Kinder, sind Familien dabei und wir haben für die Kinder sowie für die Erwachsenen auch Programme.
Und da gibt es eigentlich schon viele Deutsche, die mit uns reden können, die uns helfen, ja, und läuft gut.
Wir möchten auch Missstände helfen zu beseitigen, wenn auch Sorgen da sind.
Wir haben viele liebe Leute kennengelernt.
Sie sind gerne zu uns bisher gekommen, um auch Unterstützung zu bekommen für ihre Anträge bei den Behörden und für viele alltägliche Dinge. Von Anfang an haben wir uns sehr gefreut, dass wir auch finanziell kräftig unterstützt worden sind. Die Aktion Deutschland hilft, haben uns Mittel zur Verfügung gestellt.
Es ist ein wunderbarer Treff. Wir haben ganz, ganz viele Freunde gefunden aus dem Kreis der Flüchtlinge, die fast regelmäßig zu uns kommen. Und es ist eine richtig schöne Familie geworden.
Alle Leute, die zusammen reden, zusammenhalten und versuchen, jeder einander zu helfen. Das gefällt mir am meisten.
Es ist vieles schon gelungen, aber es bleibt noch wahnsinnig viel zu tun.
Und wir würden uns auch in Zukunft wünschen, dass wir weiterhin Mittel zur Verfügung gestellt bekommen, um diese schöne Arbeit fortsetzen zu können.
Last year, our programme came from the refugee centre, community centre in Belgrade, Serbia. And it was fascinating to see the work that ADRA in Serbia and church members in Serbia were doing, helping people that were principally still on their journey, that wanted to get to a destination in another country. And in fact, as we interviewed most of them, a lot of them said, place I want to be is Germany. Didn't always make it there. Some of them gone to other places. But the work that was being done there, preparing them for a life somewhere here in Europe or beyond, was fantastic. Fantastic so much that I went back there in the next summer to visit them again. And I asked them for this report just to update me on what's happening at the centre right now. And the fascinating thing at the end of this report is to meet the young girl who actually calls back to the centre to tell them of her reactions now she's in France.
From the beginning of the migrant crisis, ADRA Serbia is on different ways included in the support of refugees from the Belgrade Center of Asylum. One of the most important supporting programs is the supporting of education and integration into the local community. ADRA is partnered with local formal schools, so we are providing support programs for formal schools, but also in our community center we are providing support in field of the informal education. So we think that through these activities we can enclose much more the local community and Serbian culture to these people and to these families and their children who are currently staying here in Belgrade or who are decided to stay in Serbia for longer.
Hello there, my name is Tamara and I am happy to say that I'm a new member of ADRA Serbia team. Before ADRA, I used to work at Refugee Aid Mixalište for 2 years, and this is my 3rd month working here. Speaking of concept of working at ADRA, as you can see behind my back, me and my teammates here provide services such as having a good time, spending quality time together, and learning through those activities. Here we implement activities such as educational workshops, developmental workshops, sport activities and fun activities. And I'm really proud and happy to say that I'm a part of this story and of this project.
Hi, I'm Sharon. I'll be talking about my experience here at the ADRA Community Center here in Serbia. I am helping them with English classes, and it's kind of a challenge for me to learn English at different kind of levels. I've been taught at a pretty high level of English, almost Cambridge level, but not yet. So for me, it was easier for me to learn to teach the more advanced peoples, like the tenses. So we started with the present simple. And for me, the challenge was to learn how to teach the beginners. And that's where I come in, and that's my experience here at the center of just teaching them something that they can take on their journey to a place that they can call home.
سلام، من مهناز عثمانی هستم، اهل افغانستان. در مسیر پناهندگی به سمت اروپا ما تقریبا مدت 2 سال در صربستان بودیم و داخل کمپ ساکن بودیم و هر روز ماشینای آدرا میومد ما را از از کمپ برمیداشت میبرد مدرسه و از مدرسه برمیگردون توی کمپ و همچنین از کمپ ما رو برمیداشت میبرد آدرا و از آدرا برمیگردون ما رو توی کمپ. و توی آدرا ما مثلا کلاس‌های تابستانی داشتیم که برای سال آینده ما رو آماده می‌کرد. مثلا هر کلاس از خود یه بخش داشت، یه استاد داشت و غیر از اون ما کلاس‌های داشتیم مثلا مثل ریاضی، انگلیسی و سری و دیگر کلاس‌ها و ما توی آدرا مثلا جشن‌های خود را برگزار می‌کردیم، مثلا مثل جشن استقلال و جشن روز مادر و همینجوری و همچین چیزا. اگه آدرا هم کدام جشنی داشت مثلا توی آدرا برگزار می‌کرد و مردم از توی کم برمی داشت می‌برد توی آدرا و با تمام امکانات و از آدرا برمیگردونیش توی کم و همچنین توی هر مدرسه که حتی یه دونه یا دو تا مهاجر هم بود، شاگرد مهاجر، از آدرا یه نفر باهاشون میرفت برای راهنمایی تمام کاراشون، باهاشون میرفت و اینجا ازم میپرسن تو مدرسه کجا بریم خوبی، مثلا ریاضی یاد گرفتی، انگلیسی یاد گرفتی، بیولوژی و دیگر کلاس ها رو من بهشون میگم که اینا رو تمومش رو از آدرا یاد گرفتم. بهم میگن مثلا آدرا کجاست؟ من بهشون میگم آدرا خونه منه و تشکر بابت تمام کارهایی که آدرا برام میکردی. حوالت آدرا är moje kuća i Adro je moje toput.
So Adra is my home. When you see Manaz there, and she's now in France and talking back to that refugee community centre, what does that do to your heart when you see someone that is having some success on her journey?
Of course, it's a wonderful story. We have a lot of those stories. They're a little different because we don't have that center. In Germany, we have different little places, most of them in churches, where they meet. And I know for many, many refugees, that's the home now. And the people they meet there, the volunteers that are their second family. And they have warm feelings, feeling welcome, being welcomed, loved, and yeah, I can really imagine what's going on with her, and we have the same things here.
Liane, we understood that you are in charge for the refugee project here in Germany. Germany, the key country in Europe that refugees that want to get to. What you are doing? Can you explain us your charge?
My part in that game is to be with the groups, especially in the financial things they have to ask for. They do proposals. They have to send reports, pictures, but that's the administration part that I do. But since I'm a volunteer too, I work as a volunteer too in a group in my hometown. I know very much what they're talking about. So we are in a very close connection. And I get a lot of phone calls from the volunteers where they start with like a formula thing, and then we end up talking about all the challenges we have in our work with the refugees, and about all the love that we give, but also that we get.
Mm-hmm. And why is so important to be involved in this action?
Well, I think nobody does that just for fun. They have to run. And I could not imagine, not in a tiny way, how it is to go in a country, to leave everything behind, to go in a country with a total different culture, with a total different language, where a different religion is very strong, and I have to be there without support, or even sometimes, as we all know, they're not all people that welcome them. And that's why I think that is our rule, to stand up for them, to stand on their side, to support them, and to give them at least a little bit of warm and good feeling, so that they feel good and that they think it was a good decision to come.
I can see the passion in your voice.
Yeah, the same. I see this in your eyes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's your greatest joy? Because you're volunteering, but you're also doing the finance logistics side. What gives you the greatest joy in being able to help people in their journey like this?
The greatest joy is for me, and it's also an honor to help those volunteers, because they need help too. And very often that's forgotten, and they help and give, and they need support and an ear to talk to. And so, I mean, ideal, it would be someone that understands what they talk to. And I think that's my biggest part in that.
You're a good listener.
Yeah, I try.
Okay, well, we want to listen to somebody else now, because often refugees are perceived as being a burden, and they're always going to be a burden on the States. We don't welcome them in our country, perhaps. So it's useful maybe to jump back a few years to people that maybe even 50 or 60 years ago were refugees, and today they're successful. So I want to introduce you in this next clip to Karnak, who works at our World Church headquarters in Washington.
Okay.
He was a refugee as a 10-year-old boy. He had nothing.
My name is Karnak Dukmetsian. I'm the General Counsel of the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. My parents were refugees in Greece, having come from Turkey during the time of the genocide. And we were refugees in Greece until I was 8 or 9 years old, when we left to come to Canada. It was in Canada that we finally had citizenship and could call a place home rather than be refugees. We were the same as every other individual in the country, except we had no status. We were refugees. I know my father had a business, and he ran a business, had been there for many, many years, but as a refugee, he had no status officially as a citizen of the country, even though he'd been there for many years. It's not a choice to be a refugee. It's something that occurs because of the political situation in the country, or because of war that is going on, or because of the financial situation that exists in that country. And people leave because they're forced to, because of war, or for a better life for their families. No, there are opportunities for improvement of one's life, depending on where they end up. Not all countries are welcoming of refugees, but those that are, they provide for individuals to be able to improve their lot in life, and are welcomed into the country with financial assistance and housing in order for them to improve their status. Well, people often look at themselves as refugees and feel there is no hope. But eventually, life turns around. Your children end up becoming better educated, or even educated. I was the first in my family to go to college. And because of that, people are able to improve their lot in life and overcome the stigma of being a refugee in a country. It helps me understand what they're going through, and it also helps me to provide assistance for them in any way that I can. Here in the greater Washington area, we've had recently an influx of refugees from the Middle East, from Syria and Iraq. And I know my wife and I have assisted those families with furniture, clothes, food, to help them adjust to this new life that they're facing in this country. Refugees are struggling because of everything that they've gone through in their situation, and being new in a country with no language abilities, no wealth, to start a new life, we do need to provide for them and assist them so they can get their feet planted on the ground and develop their new life in the country.
It's thrilling to me to hear the story of somebody that was a refugee and has become successful in their life. And we could repeat that story thousands of times. Some of those stories I've actually asked people, but because they've come out of a genocide or some difficult backgrounds, they find it hard. But thank you, Karnak, for that story. And we have some guests here who've been watching the program. You've been very quiet up till now. But how do you react to a story where you see, we're facing a crisis in Europe for the last several years, we've been working through it, but you see someone like Karnak that has gone from a crisis to success?
Yeah, in the Bible, actually, we learn that we are all foreigners looking for a new place. So we can say that we are all refugees. So we can perfectly identify ourselves with those that have to run to a better place. That's ultimately what we are all doing. We are trying to go to a better place. So if we can be of assistance to all the persons that come to us and that are looking for a better life condition, we are not doing more than our obligation. We are not doing more than what is required from us as Christians. And I'm really happy to see all these experiences, all these stories that were presented already, where we can see that as a church and as an agency, as ADRA, we are giving our hands and our help to the ones that are looking for something where we live.
And I guess, Thomas, when we see a program, when we see a report like that, and then you are working hands-on with refugees today, you're thinking, well, this child now has got a future.
Yeah, exactly. I think so, because all of us, we could remember our time, as a children, and I think it is so good and so important for a child, to have a perspective, to have a future. And this story is actually a marvelous one, because we could see a very successful person at the end, and we as human beings, I think we all are the same, so it doesn't matter if he is from Portugal, I'm from Czech or Germany, Slovenia. It doesn't matter. At the end, we are human beings and we need each other, and we need also this kind of perspective for the future.
Well, one of the things I found about human beings is that human beings need food. And if you look even in the Gospels at Jesus' life, you found a lot of his ministry took place around food. So I want to take you now up to another destination country, to Finland, to a local church community who've decided that food is the best way that they can bridge between themselves and the refugees and migrants that are living in their town.
My name is Jetro. Welcome to the resting place. Rauhanparkki is an event on every Friday night. We basically want to offer a place for people who are tired or are lonely or poor. It's a place to come, sit down together, talk, eat. It's free for everybody. Our society nowadays, it's quite busy, and there are many people who are suffering loneliness. And even in Finland, it's true, there is also poverty quite a lot. So this is answer to most of those questions, like here you will not be alone, you will have food to eat and people to talk with. Our volunteers are mostly from our own Seventh-day Adventist Church. The young people do most of the work. Then we have quite many of them are refugees, and sometimes some elder people also help in the kitchen. Like we have this one lady who has very rough background, but because she have found a family in our church and been helped, she also have very big heart to also help others. We call her Mama Africa. Yes, she's now working in the kitchen. It's amazing to see also how God have used this place to connect people, like one lady coming from Helsinki and another lady from another town. They both saw the sign, came here. Another one was Protestant, planning to go to Israel. Another one just came from Israel and they came friends, attend to our Sabbath meeting as well. Like there are many very interesting meetings happened in this place, and the more we pray, the more blessed these events have been. My advice for those who would like to start something like this is that go ahead, but have a nice team with you and love people. Like if that's not your motivation, don't do it. This is very nice way to love people, to talk with them, to serve them, and then their heart hopefully will melt and you will have more friends, and maybe you can help them even more with spiritual warfare. Who knows? But yeah, it's about people and connecting them and sharing your faith through actions, and after that through words.
Loving people, connecting, sharing, that's what it's all about in Finland and in many other locations as well. I want to take you across the water now, not this water that's sitting in front of me here, but literally the English Channel, as we take a focus on education. Because if food is important, education's important as well. So we're going to Birmingham and a local church that has decided to set up an after-school education program. Because many times when refugee children and migrant children come in, their language skills are very basic. They may have missed school for a year or two, and so they are way behind where their other classmates are. So here's a project where volunteers set up something special for those children in their local church.
My name is Sophie Hannah, and I'm outside the Ladywood Seventh-day Adventist Church in Birmingham, United Kingdom, to find out more about the Homework Club, which is an after-school program which caters for refugee children in the local area. Now, the refugee crisis has been gaining global attention over the past few years. The United Nations defines a refugee as someone who's had to flee their home country due to a well-founded fear of persecution because of race, religion, political opinion, or being part of a specific social group. In the news, we have seen families having to escape dangerous and horrific circumstances in their home country as they seek safety in other parts of the world. Well, it's been a turbulent time for millions of people. It has been encouraging to see Christians assist and lead in projects for refugees as they actively try to do the work of God in showing love and help to those in need. So I'm here with Hyacinth Lee, who is the founder and manager of the Homework Club, and she's going to tell us all about the program she started here in 2016. Hi Hyacinth.
Hi Sophie.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you also.
So I know I'm getting the name wrong. It's not the Homework Club, but what's the full name of the program?
It's the Ladywood Education Centre.
And how many children do you have attending at the moment?
We have about roughly 30 children on the books. On average, we have about 25 children every week.
And how many children did you start with?
We started out with approximately 20. The maximum was 20.
And how many of those children come from a predominantly refugee background?
I would say about 80%
wow.
of children.
80?
80.
That's a big amount.
We have children with backgrounds from Yemen, from Sudan, and from Caribbean, and even
I think it was Eritrea? Eritrea,
yeah.
Okay. And what is Ladywood's intention for the program, predominantly for the refugees?
It didn't start out like that before. It was
so it was for all children?
For all the children in the community. However, only the refugee children took advantage of the service that we've been offering.
Okay, and why do you think it's important for us as Christians to be doing projects for refugees?
As Christians, our calling is about helping the needy,
yes,
feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and offering support to the downtrodden. And all this includes refugee. We need to be a community of rescuers.
And what have been the most challenging aspects? Because we're now in the 3rd year that will be running, so what have been the most challenging aspects about keeping it going?
The most challenging aspect is consistency in commitment, in making sure that we have enough volunteers to cover the classes. But however, because this club is from the foundation of God, God is in it, He always provides.
Okay. I know sometimes people have difficulties in finding people to help in their programs or their ministry at church, but you haven't found that.
It's difficult, it's a challenge, it is a challenge. And you have to be always going before the church and asking for volunteers to come. And what we have done, because then we have about 11 people, volunteers here working, but only 7 is from our local church.
Oh, wow.
The others are from other Seventh-day Adventist church in the area.
Okay, so you have people coming from all over the district to help? Okay, and do yourself and the other helpers, are they all from a teaching background?
No. Of all, we have about 3 teachers, or 3 the maximum.
And what about yourself?
I'm not from a teaching background, I'm from a financial.
So where did this passion come?
It comes from the love of people, love of doing service, of helping wherever we can.
Okay. And then where do you see the Homework Club going? So in the next 5 years, what would be your vision for it?
Still offering the same thing to the children, but also we want to engage in a program that's going to help the mothers who bring their children here. So we are working on ways of how best to go about that program.
So World Refugee Day is on the 20th of June this year, and it's a real time for us to commemorate the strength, the courage, and the perseverance of millions of refugees. Now, the Bible itself is full of stories of refugees, even Jesus. So on this World Refugee Day, spare a thought, a prayer, and as many deeds as possible for refugees who God has given us the privilege to help.
So that was a report from Birmingham and an after-school club for homework. I don't remember being keen to do homework after school, but Joanne, do you see something like that as important for children as they come back into education?
Victor, my dream would be that every church in Europe would have a program to help the community. It doesn't matter if it is refugees or children that need education, whatever. I think we need, as a church, to be open to the community. But of course, as we are looking at refugees here, for me, this is really amazing. How can we do... the important thing is to understand what's the need of the community, what's the need of the refugees. And they found that the need was homework for children, and this is amazing for me. So I'm really impressed, and I'm impressed with all the other reports that we have already watched, because we could see that the church is trying to provide. Here in Germany, for instance, we have listened that as this is the destination for many of the refugees, how the church is committed and involved to provide for the needs of the people that are coming into our borders. It's very good to see that as a church we are not indifferent to this. As I think about 4 years ago, in 2015, when we had the first refugee summit between both divisions, the TED and the EUD, and ADRA directors from all over the divisions, and we were discussing what to do in the future. I think now, after 4 years, we have to praise God for everything that He has achieved through us. So I really appreciate the work that the church and ADRA are doing here in Europe.
But what I pick up from you is that for the local church, it's a matter of listening. It's not just saying, OK, we must suddenly have a feeding programme, or OK, we must suddenly have an after-school club. It's listening to the refugees, getting alongside and seeing what those needs are.
Yeah, the assessment is very important, having a proper assessment, not only in terms of the needs, but also of the resources that we can provide. Because if the needs don't match the resources that we have, then we have a problem. So we need to look for these resources somewhere else, and we need to make partnerships with other organizations. We don't need to be close by ourselves, but there are many other organizations that we can partner with, and we can do many things together in the community.
Maya, we are talking about children, refugees, children, okay? And we are talking about education. But can you give us some data, just to understand the volume of this phenomenon?
Yes, I'm actually coming from a small country, from Slovenia, where we have 2 million people. And if you double the population within Slovenia, we get the number of refugee children who don't have access to education, any kind of education. And just last year, the number increased for another 500,000 children, just in 1 year. So when we are talking about children and when we talk about the importance of education, why these children are left out? Are they less important than our children? I believe all children are important to God. And if we love them, if we care for them, we will do something for them. Because when these children go back to school, this is usually the first normality in months or even years.
Yes.
And this is also the way to heal, to experience something beautiful. And it's also investment, because by the time when the war will be over, they will be able to rebuild the countries, because they want to go back, they want to go home.
I like this idea, this image, because children are human beings of today, but the leaders of tomorrow.
Yes.
And we have to help them to become leaders.
Of course. And invest in their future. We are building peace by investing in education.
Yes.
So investing in the future is very important. I've just been filming and traveling in one part of the world, and I discovered everywhere I went, as soon as you pulled a tripod and a camera out, you were surrounded by children who were not only interested in what you were doing, but they were also not in school. And this is the project now that ADRA is very, very interested in. Let's see a clip of your launch, of what you're trying to achieve, and then we'll talk to you some more.
Okay.
Every scream I hear, every bullet blast, every breath I take might be my last.
Every brick I lift in the scorching heat, every break we don't take, every meal we don't eat.
Every hurricane, every classroom flood, every textbook and dream buried under the mud. Every moment alone, every day with no end, every vanishing hope for a classmate and friend.
Every childhood lost, every soon-to-be wife, every girl who was forced to hand over her life.
Every starving child, every refugee, every kid in the world deserves to feel free.
So enough with the screams and the bullet blasts. In school, I feel safe from the violence at last.
Enough with the bricks and the heat of the day. In school, I can finally learn, eat, and play.
Enough with the storms that cause chaos and pain. In school, we keep learning in spite of the rain.
Enough with the lonely days, all on my own. In school, I have friends and a welcoming home.
Enough with the girls who are forced to be wives.
In school, girls take back the control of their lives.
Every child,
everywhere, just like me, can find hope in school,
where we learn to be free.
Every child, everywhere, in school. So if I understood, there is an action from ADRA, worldwide ADRA, and this is just a collection of signatures, a petition. Can you say us more?
Corrado, it is more than just signatures. It is more. Because by being loud, by becoming a voice for these children, we are changing the world. We are becoming a prophetic voice. The world is hungry for these kind of voices. Because when we engage and when we show a big number of people, that care for something, if we care for children, if we care about their future, if we care about peace, then we add our voice. If we are silent, then we are saying to the world, we don't care, we don't care. But when we care, we engage, and we don't just become ourselves engaged. We engage our family members, we engage our friends, we go out, we seek the opportunities. And by engaging, we are actually saying, we care, we love you, we want you to be happy, to live free. And we are collecting signatures, and 1 million signatures is just the beginning. So share the petition, share the request, give your voice, become loud, really loud.
Okay, I've signed the petition. And
me too.
Yep, you've done it as well, and I'm sure you both have.
Of course.
You know, I could put on my very cynical hat now and say, what difference does signing a petition make? You know, you get 1,000, 1 million signatures, maybe 5 million signatures. What difference is it going to make to that child I can see behind me with a brick in his hand? Is it really going to help us get more education for our kids?
We have 262 million children without access to education. We cannot access them by ourselves. We need the support of the global community. And when we have 1 million voices saying we demand a change, then I think the people who are in charge of the change and who can actually do the change will start to listen. And this is the first step. It's a long way, but we need to take the first step.
So, yes, you're supporting it. Yeah. And we would encourage everybody, if you haven't signed the petition yet, this is your chance. Sign it today, add to the numbers. We want to get more children the opportunity for education. In fact, we're going to look at another clip now, going to another of those destination countries, to Norway, where, again, in a local environment, they're doing something both for migrants and for refugees. In fact, the interviews you will see are more with migrants because it's a little bit sensitive sometimes to talk to refugees, but see what they are doing in a Norwegian context for education.
Every week, a group of people, migrants and refugees, come here to the Adventist school in the city of Moss, Norway, to get language training. We'd like to know a little bit more about what's going on tonight.
At the moment, we have 3 churches that offer language training to refugees and migrants. There are about 50 to 80 students that come each week to attend the classes. The language training developed because of a principal at the Adventist primary school in Bergen. She saw a need and she wanted to help people, and so she started a language class. We didn't really know how many people who were gonna come, so it was very exciting when there was this very long line outside school before we started, and all the parking spaces were filled up, and we had to carry extra chairs into the gym to get a place for everyone.
It's helping really much, and people are very, very nice. It's some kind of motivation to learn more and more. Before I was just watching Norwegian TV to learn Norwegian language. It's perfect because it's just 2 hours. And, before I was also going on other course that was 5 hours, and I think it was too much for one day, especially that we do this after work, evening. So these 2 hours is perfect, and like I told before, the people are very nice and have lots of patience, I think, students.
I have gotten so much more help than I thought I would ever get. People have been so helpful because they see it's a need. You need some people who like to teach, and then you need some people who like to talk, and then you need some textbooks, and maybe you need a cake or some drinks. Adventist school, they let us use their buildings and some of their teaching materials. The church sends teachers, And then we have support from ADRA in Norway. Some of the teachers are actual trained teachers. Some of them have retired, and so they want to do this in their free time to help. Others, they still work as teachers and help out. And then we have many assistant teachers, and that's everybody can be an assistant teacher. So that's lots of different people.
Det helt greit for meg, fordi jeg vil lære mer norsk. Jeg vil bli flinkere i norsk. Og det veldig god muligheten for alle andre som kommer hit til Norge for å lære språk. Som du kan nå leke her, du kan nå snakke med andre mennesker, du kan jobbe hardt med leksene, som det blir helt fint. Jeg på andre semester her, og første semester vi har avslutningsdag, som det helt fint, som det småfest. Det var fest, det egentlig stor fest, som kommer med mat, synger sanger på gymsalen vi var på. Det var masse aktiviteter og leker, så det var veldig, veldig fint. Jeg anbefaler til alle å komme hit.
Most of all, I get smiles, a lot of smiles, and that makes you feel good. And then people say thank you, and a woman that has been really sick has come here every Monday, even if she's been sick. It's kind of touching. It's a meaningful way to engage in the community and to be Jesus' hands and feet in the world. Teaching Norwegian makes me happy because I feel that I really can help people, I can make a difference. And so I'm kind of tired when I start each Monday evening, but when I come home, I'm kind of energized.
So we are watching different stories, projects, people, volunteers. We are talking about story of integration, story of people that are just trying to find for the future. So in Germany, we have a lot of stories that are really very interesting, a lot of projects that are really, really interesting. And unfortunately, we made a selection. So we cannot show everything. But the one that we will see now is a typical one where somebody were really involved to create this approach to let the refugees be integrated in the society. Let's watch this story.
Ein Beispiel für ehrenamtliches Engagement ist die Adventgemeinde Bensheim, die sich in Wohngruppen und im örtlichen Flüchtlingslager engagiert.
Wie muss man sich denn die derzeitige Lage der Flüchtlinge, die hier in Bensheim untergebracht sind, vorstellen?
Also wir stehen ja jetzt hier vor Zelten, wir haben das hier im Hintergrund ja zu sehen. Das ist das sogenannte Auffanglager hier in Bensheim. Hier sind rund 600 Leute untergebracht. Man muss jetzt unterscheiden, das ist das Auffanglager und in der Stadt Bensheim haben wir also in Wohngruppen dann Flüchtlinge untergebracht. Es gibt ein Begegnungszelt, dort kann man dann mit ihnen Kontakt aufnehmen und da finden dann auch Aktivitäten statt. Also da wird Deutsch mit ihnen gelernt, also die ersten Schritte gemacht. Und für Kinder gibt es ein kleines Zelt, da werden Kinder betreut. Und es ist auch für Frauen eine Arbeitsgruppe da, die sich um Frauen kümmern.
Aus welchen Ländern stammen die Flüchtlinge, die in Bensheim untergebracht sind?
Also hier im Auffanglager kommen sie aus ganz unterschiedlichen Gebieten, die meisten wohl aus Syrien, aber auch aus Eritrea, aus Somalia und anderen Ländern. Und das ist natürlich ein bunter Mix hier, auch von Sprachen. Und ich weiß, dass hier auch im Lager Babys geboren wurden. Hier ist eine Hebamme aus der Stadt, die hier dann auch mitgeholfen hat. Unsere Gemeinde hier in Bensheim hat entschieden, wir wollen uns engagieren, wir wollen uns einbringen. Es sind Gemeindeglieder, die hier am Zelt mit dabei sind. Aber wir wollen uns bei einer Wohngruppe engagieren. Wir wollen eine sogenannte Patenschaft für eine Wohneinheit übernehmen. Es ist eine Gruppe aus Eritrea, junge Leute im Alter von 20 bis 25. Und ihr habt halt jetzt begonnen, Kontakt aufzunehmen.
Wo siehst du denn neben den mangelnden Sprachkenntnissen die akutesten Bedürfnisse der Flüchtlinge?
Also ich denke, das Wichtigste ist, dass sie sich angenommen fühlen. Ich bin jetzt am letzten Donnerstag einfach mal mit den Jungs dann zum Fußball gegangen. Ja, die Stadt bietet da auch etwas an, wo sie Sport machen können. Und da bin ich einfach mit dabei. Ich habe nicht mitgespielt, aber ich war einfach dabei. Und auf dem Weg dann, ich habe sie dann nach Hause gebracht, da sagte einer von der Gruppe, ich freue mich. Und das sind so die ersten Schritte dann der Begegnung, des Miteinanders. Und das muss einfach wachsen. Da kann ich auch jetzt auch nur unseren Gemeinden und allen, die sich da engagieren wollen, Mut machen. Es ist ja nicht nur so, dass man selber etwas gibt, sondern man kriegt da auch etwas zurück. Wenn eine Gemeinde jetzt etwas tun will in Richtung Flüchtlingsbetreuung, dann möchte ich erst mal sagen, man muss da Geduld mit einbringen. Das geht alles nicht von heute auf morgen, da muss etwas wachsen. Ich weiß von Gemeinden, die damit begonnen haben und denen es auch schon gelingt, in ihre eigenen Räume die Flüchtlinge einzuladen und dort während der Woche Begegnung herzustellen. Aber Geduld, das Wichtigste ist einfach auf Menschen zugehen. Das ist auch, glaube ich, unsere christliche Aufgabe. Was aber auch wichtig und notwendig ist, dass wir finanziell hier Hilfestellung geben und da ist natürlich ADRA eigentlich der richtige Ansprechpartner. ADRA setzt sich für Flüchtlinge ein, ADRA tut etwas und da kann ich nur sagen, helft mit, das kommt an die richtige Stelle. Und Gemeinden, die dann wiederum finanzielle Hilfe brauchen, um Dinge zu machen, die können sich wiederum an ADRA wenden und können über ADRA dann Hilfestellung bekommen. Also hier eine Hand wäscht die andere, wir können es gemeinsam tun.
So we have here in the studio Gunther Macher. Gunther Macher, what was your first reaction finally when you were confronted with this reality of refugees in Germany?
Yeah. As you have seen in the clip, when all these refugees came to our town, they were separated from the people in town. They were in tents. And so our first reaction was, we must get acquainted with them. We must go to them. We must tell them, welcome to Bensheim. And at the same time, we as a church, we thought, well, what can we do? How can we help them to get acquainted with us? And well, the first reaction was, we must help them to learn our language. They need to speak German, otherwise there's no future. And so, but that was not all. To start with easy German lessons and other things, and others in church, well, had to help. I couldn't do that by my own. We were a small group. We tried to help them, and we went to the tents, tried to get contact to them, and then we invited them to come and to join our things we did.
So you started a process of integration.
That's right.
This is important. Learning Germany, other kind of action that you did just to help them to integrate in the society. But there were some difficulties to do this?
Well, we have a different culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we must show them our culture, and we must learn about their culture. Just an easy point. We are used to put our garbage in special boxes. They are not used to do that. And we learned it's not easy to show them how we do it and why we do that. At first, their reaction was, what are the Germans doing here? But step by step, they understood. And so we talked about our culture and their culture, how we eat, how they eat, and what we eat, what they eat. And that was a good experience.
So this means that you just make a step toward them, and they also has to do something towards you.
That's right.
Is correct.
They had to open themselves too. We had to open our hearts, and they had to open their hearts, so that we can meet.
But
that was...
Yeah, and I suppose that not all refugees are really intended to follow your suggestion. So.
Well, no, there are some, especially young people. They came to Germany and they thought that all money is lying on the street, that everything is coming by itself. But that's not true. They have to engage themselves. They have to do something. And, there were some shadows, and I had to see that some of them were very eager to learn German, to do something, but others were very lazy. And, I had to learn we must support them, we have to promote them, but on the other side, we have to challenge. We have to ask them, please, you must do something, otherwise it will not work. And so, giving and taking, so both must join.
I think that's very important in a situation like this, and it's important that you've recognised and highlighted the difficulties as well as the joys of it.
Yeah.
But I do remember when Corrado and I, in the first year of World Refugee Day, we at a refugee camp in the north of Greece, and they had a tragedy on the sites. 2 of their young people drowned in a reservoir.
Oh, yeah.
And we were kind of there and giving some money so they could have a feast to celebrate their lives. And their community was coming to us and saying, you need to eat with us. And it was a two-way process, which I think was helpful. And that's clearly what you're trying to do here. I want to turn to Marcelo, though, because, hey, you're wearing this very interesting uniform. Why are you here for a Refugee Day program dressed like this?
Yeah, I'm a Pathfinder leader from our Pathfinder group in the church in Bensheim.
So that's something like Scouts?
Yeah, something like Scouts, the German ways of Scouts. Yes. And so we talk about integration, and that's a point. We don't need to make program only for refugees. Then we start to think in our church, okay, how can we integrate them in programs that they can be involved with our community in our city? And then we said, okay, they have a lot of children there that are in school, but always in separate groups. They only group, okay, all refugees, children are together. Then we said, okay, come on, take them to our Pathfinder group so we can integrate them with our children, and they can take, okay, we'll do some stuff with German kids. And so to speak with them German, to learn our culture there, and that was, very good.
The children learn German, and they teach their parents to learn German. So that's a good connection.
Yeah.
And you're learning a bit of Farsi or Arabic?
Of Arabic, yeah, a little bit.
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
And it's working well with the kind of German kids and the new immigrant kids?
Yeah, for our kids it was always a challenge. We don't ask our kids, okay, we will take now like 5, 6, 7 refugee kids. No, we take them and say, okay, now they're part of our group, and now we have to get a group together to make the feeling, okay, they are part of our group. And in the beginning it was very hard because we say, okay, they came from other culture, the children have other backgrounds. And so, for us it was always a challenge to say, okay, that's children there and we have our children's, to get them together and to have fun together.
Yeah. So it's respecting the backgrounds, but it's learning how we can also do things in common.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, football breaks down all the barriers, doesn't it?
Yes, that's another project that we have. We start, I think, before the refugees crisis, that we take every Wednesday, we play 2 hours football with our church members. And then we say, okay, we have a lot of refugees that are in my age, and we say, okay, let's play sport together, football. So we invite them, okay, come on, we have a football group, you want to play football, soccer? Yeah, sure. And then, we begin with, I think, 2 or 3 then, and they are in German courses together, and I think after 1-2 months, we had like 10, 15, 20 refugees that would play with us soccer, and it was amazing.
And fair play?
Fair play, sometimes.
And they'll soon be in the national team.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have this uniform that reminds us that you are Pathfinder, but not only in Bensheim, we have a Pathfinder group that is working for the refugees, also in Marienau, in another part of Germany. Let's see this little interview.
We help the children to learn German, or we help the children to come in the culture.
And so that they can be integrated in the culture, because they're coming from different countries, and I think Germany is a bit different. So they've been there for years, and so helping them so they can go to school as well.
Yeah, and we have a preacher who go to shops
he takes them shopping.
Yeah,
twice a week.
The women who don't have a car, or yes, we involve them in our church, in our activities, in our youth, and we say that they every time are welcome to talk with us and to say us for help. And then we help, yes.
Because they don't live
everything
far away
else.
from us at all.
Yes.
So they just, Marienhöhe on a hill, and it's just on the side of the hill where they live.
Yes.
So it's like 5-minute walking
It's
distance.
called Jefferson-Siedlung.
Yeah.
Jefferson-Siedlung, yes.
And they represent actually Pathfinder clubs, not just in Germany, but I've also seen it in Sweden. And there's a club just starting up in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, that is actually totally made up of refugees, but they're saying, hey, we need to do something together, so that's fantastic. But this is something that happens all over Europe. And I was in Spain recently, and I was just walking down a road, sightseeing in fact, and on my left I suddenly saw an ADRA van, and I looked up and I saw an ADRA building. And across Spain, ADRA is doing a lot of work for people that have come in as refugees and as migrants, and again, need integration into Spanish society. Let's take a quick look at what they're doing in Spain.
España es una de las puertas de Europa, de personas que huyen del hambre y las sequías de países africanos. En estos últimos años ha aumentado la llegada de personas que huyen de los conflictos políticos o bélicos en su país. ADRA España mantiene su compromiso por la igualdad y la integración de la población que llega hasta nuestro territorio.
Las razones por las que dejé mi país es por la situación difícil que vivimos actualmente. El motivo de mi llegada a España es para buscar un mejor futuro para mi hija. Y actualmente, bueno, estoy en ADRA realizando cursos de formación para poder encontrar un empleo.
ADRA actúa en más de 90 delegaciones, donde desarrolla programas que atienden las necesidades básicas de familias y personas. También se ofrecen talleres de vida saludable, nutrición equilibrada, así como orientación sobre recursos sociales y laborales.
Cuando llegué a España, yo he trabajado en construcción, he trabajado en jardinería. Ahora tengo papeles y agradezco a ADRA por el curso de formación que me está dando para mejorar mi situación laboral en España.
El trabajo de las delegaciones se realiza con la participación de 955 voluntarios y voluntarias. En el último año han atendido a más de 35.000 personas. Además, ADRA gestiona centros de atención sociolaboral en diferentes ciudades. El año pasado se atendieron a más de 1.200 personas provenientes de países no europeos.
Yo vine aquí a España porque mi marido trabaja en España. Yo tengo 2 niños, un hijo y una hija.
Tengo una niña de 6 años y vengo de Marruecos y ahora estoy viuda.
Yo ahora en ADRA estudiando para buscar trabajo.
Estoy aquí con ADRA para ayudarme a hablar español y para mejorar la vida y para encontrar un trabajo.
Los profesionales facilitan el proceso de integración en la sociedad de acogida. Se ofrece orientación social, laboral, jurídica, talleres y formación orientada al empleo.
Llegué hace 3 años y medio a España como turista. Luego me quedé irregular. Para poder trabajar necesitaba prepararme, pues ADRA ha ayudado a prepararme en algunos cursos, en el cual me ha ayudado a obtener algunos trabajos y pues también ahí me ha ayudado para poder tramitar mi trámite de permiso de residencia, el cual estoy muy cerca y espero pronto poderlo obtener.
ADRA trabaja por la dignidad, igualdad y participación de las personas sin distinción de sexo, credo o nacionalidad en la sociedad española.
Surely you know that Italy is one of the first countries that the refugees encounter when they arrive in Europe, Lampedusa. So in Lampedusa, many of them are just directed to enter in Europe. Of course, there are some difficulties now, and we know everything because the news is now sharing the story. But some of them remain in Italy. Italy are offering some projects for the refugees. We have in South Italy, for example, an interesting project where the refugees can learn a job. And when they learn this job, they can back again in their country and apply for this job. And they are also learning to drive, for example, to receive a license, things like this, because the integration is very important. In Palermo, for example, in Sicily, the church is providing for school to learn Italian and also how to deal with the bureaucracy that the country is offering. So we are now watching what is happening in Palermo.
L'Italia si trova in un contesto particolare di frontiera dove i sogni di tanti migranti approdano con la speranza di un futuro migliore. L'incontro con la realtà sognata spesso si frantuma con le sfide quotidiane, la burocrazia, la complessità della politica. Visitiamo questa volta Palermo, dove da diversi anni è iniziato il progetto Sono bravo anch'io. ADRA Italia cerca di contribuire ed incoraggiare la continuità di queste storie per un percorso positivo con alcuni progetti di integrazione. Attraverso borse lavoro, conseguimento della patente guida, attività di doposcuola. Queste attività vengono portate avanti in sinergia con le nostre comunità locali, la passione di tanti volontari e la rete del territorio.
So, Thomas, we are talking about ADRA Europe, but also ADRA European offices outside Europe. How these offices are working for the refugees around the world?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. Actually, ADRA in Europe has 30 offices, and many of them are not only engaged in Europe, but they're also working with refugees, and we call this also IDPs, internal displaced people around the world, because there are many crises right now going on, and they're active there. For example, in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Somalia, in South Sudan, in Yemen. So all of them, they're active there. I would say not all of 30 officers, but many of them.
And yes, do you have some stories that you can share with us? Just anecdote, some things that touched you, your impression.
Yeah, of course. I can tell you, I just came from Thailand. Thailand is a beautiful country, and many people go to Thailand just for vacation and to have this nice experience with in Asia. So, and we in Thailand, we are not only working with Thai people, but we are also working as ADRA with refugees, and actually with refugees from Burma or from Myanmar. And to work with these refugees is this is not just a project or activity for a couple of months, because those refugees are living there for many years, because they could not, come back home, So for me, because I'm a program person and I like also to work with my colleagues, I met my colleagues in Thailand, and I have visited, the refugee camps, and in the camps which are close to the border with Myanmar, so we are offering, a kind of vocational training. We call this vocational training, and this vocational training, it means we are providing them a professional training, how to be a mechanical, how to be electrician, technique people, how to cook, and how to run a restaurant, etc. And for me, when I have visited last time these places, and these are seven different refugee camps, with the infrastructure like a small or big village, So I went to this training, and then at the end we had a kind of exam, and it was so impressive to see those people after months, providing. Going through this exam and being very successful, So, and this is what encouraged me again and again, to help these people, to try also find a way how to support them in the future, how to bring them back again, to Myanmar. The situation changed in Myanmar right now, and we are very happy about this. We have a cooperation between ADRA Thailand, and we have with our office in Myanmar. And of course, these projects are also supported from Europe. For example, in Thailand and in Myanmar, we have offices like ADRA Norway, ADRA Czech, ADRA UK, ADRA Germany working, And we have also a European Commission, which support us in financing these projects. I had the opportunity in Bangkok also to visit the delegation, to talk with the head of the delegation, and they really appreciate our work, and they want to have us to stay with these refugees, help them, to repatriate, to come back home again, And this is the hope, actually, for many refugees, because they are not just being there for fun, So especially if they are there for years, they want to again go home, And that is what we want to help them, So to
totally,
bring them back home.
Totally clear, clear. I'm amazed to listen that finally Europe is interested outside.
Of course.
And
all the time.
All the time, yes. But it's not only for financial question, because I suppose that Europe is considered a rich country, just going to the poor country and support them. There is another reason why Europe is so interested to the country outside Europe?
I guess for us as European, we are living in a very nice time, I would say, because we are living, we call this in the European Union, so we could communicate each other without any problems. You are from Italy, and I am from?
Germany.
Exactly.
Well, and we are together now.
We are together now. Yeah, that's no problem. There are no border, we could visit each other, and this is actually a privilege for us. And I guess, of course, we are trying to help the people, definitely, but we have, I guess, another message, so additional one. And I believe we as a Christian, we are supporting this message. This is a message of freedom, so to bring the nations together again, to make the life happy, so and that is what we need. And I believe in Europe we could be a good sample for some other countries, coming there with this kind of perspective and vision, and of course with this kind of experience, because we have also some challenges here in Europe.
Yes.
But there are everywhere such kind of challenges.
And now we will see an interview what is happening in France. France is one of the key countries also in Europe. People are coming. Maybe France is considered more as a bridge because the refugees would like to go to England. But let's see what is happening in France.
Okay, let us watch.
ADRA has been working with refugees for years now. Since the number of refugees has exploded in France in 2016, ADRA branches all over France have been developing ideas to bring help with people who are coming or and were quite despair. For example, in Paris, our branches Mitry-Mory, in Bagnolet, decided with few means to do something, and it was an idea with a woman who decided with a pan in her kitchen to start cooking and to distribute food outside the road. So then she's been joined with other people, just stranger on the road, and she's been joined with other partners, actually a restaurant or other companies who become partners by helping, by bringing food, and it's become a huge event. For example, within 2 months in 2017, 30,000 meals have been distributed in Paris. Our ADRA office maintains actually have bought a food truck so they can cook and they can circulate all around Paris to help people. Our branch in Dunkirk as well has been helping refugees for years. And for example, lately it's been very cold, and the town office used to give during the winter the gym, so the people can just find a refuge and sleep there. And then the members of ADRA bring them food, so they bring food to 200 people every week, and inside the gym and outside the gym. Every Thursday they offer breakfast. All the Sunday they organize lunches so people can not only eat but as well have a nice social time, and they can mingle with French people, with people around them. As refugees need as well to communicate, they have mobile phones, so ADRA members in Dunkirk offer chargers as well, so they can keep in touch with the people. For example, last year they managed to collect and to distribute almost 10,000 kilos of food to refugees in Dunkirk. So overall, ADRA France and the branches all over France are really involved in helping refugees, and we hope that we'll be able to do more and more.
Bulgaria. Also, Bulgaria is interested to do some things for the refugees. Of course, Bulgaria is not, let's say, a key country or a destination country for the refugees. It's considered a crossing country, so the people are just passing through. Some people remain, and we will see now the experience of one refugee coming from Cameroon. She's a lady. Her journey was really terrible, and now he can tell the story.
During the first wave of refugees, it was estimated that 22,500 people crossed Bulgaria. We're going to show you unique pictures of real path of the refugees crossing illegally Bulgarian border. I'm currently violating Bulgarian-Serbian border. This is the final point of Bulgaria, and this is the path that the lady we will be talking about has taken, along with many people from Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Lebanon, as well as many Kurds.
And I'm come here in Bulgaria, but not legal.
Okay.
Now when the police catch me, I'm here like a refugee. I go in the prison, I stay here 6 months. After I go another, it's not prison, but like prison, the camp, closed camp. Closed camp, I stay here 8 months. But that first year in Bulgaria, I go in the prison 2 times. That times is 3 years, close. He make me little crazy.
For 2 years, ADRA Bulgaria delivered bread, fruits, vegetables, beef, new clothes and shoes. we did partial renovation of one of the refugees camps.
First time when I'm coming, I don't know speak language. It will be very strong for me speak language. But I go in the hospital in Plovdiv, in bus. I show one woman, Pepi. She helped me for address for hospital. After that, she gave me invitation for church. But I tell her, say, I live in Sofia, my address in Sofia. I live in Sofia. She told me, no problem. This church is anywhere in Bulgaria. In Sofia and Plovdiv or Varna, everywhere you go, you see that church. She asked me if I know God, Jesus. I tell her, yes, I'm Christian. I know Jesus. She gave me that invitation. When I come in Sofia, I call the woman. I tell her, say, I need to come in the church, but I don't know speak the language. She told me, not problem. She can sit every time near her. She explained me in French for understand. I'm come here, I see really the church, my grandmother, because my grandmother, she be Adventist. When I come here, I don't know read the name for church. Yes. I don't know where I go, but I pray in the home. I pray in the home every time. God show me the way, because I need to baptize now. I take Bible course. I need to baptize now. I not baptized before. I believe I not baptized before because my life is not very good to make baptized that time. The people not know my name. My name is Pauline, but the people call me Mama Africa. Why Mama Africa? Because I go every time to take the people to speak with them about Bulgaria. No, Bulgaria is not good, but we try to do good first. After God, you can do something good for you. But have to have experience. That experience, I open now the Association African in Bulgaria. Not just for Africa, but with sympathizer. Because try to have strong. One people no can't. I'm here alone, but now I'm not alone. I have big family. With association, with church, with all the people, I speak with them. You see my example, he believes, yes, the life is not easy, but try to be strong. God will help us.
All the stories that we are listening now are very important for us. All the stories. And when we can see the face of one of the actors of the stories, the art is different. The reaction, the emotion is different. We have here Abdullah, one of the, let's say, the actor of these stories that we are listening during this program. Abdullah, you are a man with a big heart because you challenge the impossible just to give a future to your family. And now, Gunther, please present us, Abdullah.
Yeah, that's a special experience we made as a church. It was one day in springtime, we had an outdoor event of our church with our pathfinders, with our children. We barbecued outdoor, and well, there was a man with a dog. He walked there, and he looked at us, and he came to me and said, "What is going on here? What are you doing here?" And I told him that we are a church and that we are doing something for refugees, and some refugees were with us, with their families and children, and he was very much interested. And then he said, he introduced himself. He said, "I am the owner of a stone company, and I'm looking for workers. Do you have somebody who could help me in my company?" Well, I said, I don't know. And then Abdullah stood aside, and then I said, Abdullah, he worked as a tiler in his country, in Syria. And, working as a tiler is working with stones. And he looked at him and said, it could be possible. He's a strong man. And he said, send him to me the next week. We can try for some days, and I will look at him. And so Abdullah went to his company. He worked there for some days, and then Mr. Kurz, that's his name, I even contacted him and I asked him, well, what do you think? He said, well, I take him at once. And he gave him a contract. And just now he has an unlimited contract. He is working in his company, and we can see in the next clip then what was going on. And you will see his family, and you see Mr. Kurz. We interviewed him, and he will say some words about Abdullah. And that was a big experience, because now he has a job, and his chief, he even gave him a flat nearby his company. So he has a flat for his family with 4 children. It is nearly impossible now to get a room in our town. All refugees are looking for flats and for rooms. They can find nothing, but the chief, he said, well, I have something for him, and I want him to stay in my company. I don't want to lose him. And so he gave him a flat, and now he has work, he has a room, and he has learned German, because he was very eager to learn German. It was my
student
part. But that's not all. For all the refugees, it's very difficult to make the applications for asylum, for residence permit, and so I very often walked with him to the job center, to the foreigners office, to the town hall, and all these things. Even for a German, it's not easy to understand all the questions, all the papers they have to fill out, and I helped him for that, and that's what I'm doing now too. And but I'm happy that he is integrated now. He is not any longer working with the job center in town. Now he is somebody like us. He's working, he's living, and he can understand everything in German. He can speak in German, not fluently, not correctly in all things, but he knows.
Gunther, I like very much what you said. He is like us.
Yeah.
This is our purpose.
That's right.
We don't want to lose this opportunity to have people that finally they be really integrated. So let's have a look of the story of Abdullah.
Okay.
Hallo, ich bin Abdullah Idris. Ich bin aus Syrien gekommen. Ich bin seit 2 Jahren und 8 Monaten in Deutschland gewesen, mit meiner Familie, mit meiner Frau. Und ich habe schwere Liebe gehabt am Anfang. Ich habe keine Deutsch sprechen oder ich habe keine Arbeit auch gehabt. Und ich habe viele Papiere vom Stadt bekommen und die Papiere muss Antwort machen, muss auffüllen. Und das war für mich sehr schwer.
Ich bin ein leidenschaftlicher Wanderer, laufe sehr gerne, war unterwegs Richtung meiner Firma über den Bambolder Hof oder Sand und habe dort eine Gruppe von Menschen gesehen und habe mich dafür interessiert. Und in diesem Zusammenhang habe ich Abdullah kennengelernt. Abdullah war in dem Gespräch, was ich mit einem Herrn geführt habe, sehr aufschlüssig, war sehr interessiert gleich an Arbeit. Ich habe Abdullah dann 8 Tage später eingestellt und habe mit ihm persönlich selbst gearbeitet. Es hat mir viel Freude gemacht und habe erkannt, was in diesem Mann steckt. Er hat viel Wille von Anfang an gezeigt, viel innere Antriebskraft, die er auch nach außen bis heute umgesetzt hat.
Mein richtiger Gedanke zum deutsche Volk und deutsche Regierung und für ihre Behandlung für meine Familie Und vielen Dank für meine Deutschlehrer und für meine Chef. Und tschüss.
What a thrilling story. And it's often, we don't actually realize how many people around us are or have been refugees. Even in my own family, I can trace back on my mother's side to two brothers from the Netherlands who fled to America to escape life when times were very difficult back in those days. And they even are perhaps descended from French Huguenots who escaped another persecution. I've got a colleague in our office who, until 2 weeks ago, I never knew was a refugee. But he was in Yugoslavia, the former Yugoslavia, at the end of the Second World War. And when the communists came, things were not very good for him and his family. He ended up in a concentration camp. This is his story.
My name is Nicholas Sadelmeyer. I'm a Seventh Adventist minister. I have been a pastor. I have done other roles in ministry. And a few years ago, I retired from the General Conference, and now I work as a consultant to the Balkan countries. I was actually a refugee twice. I was born in the former Yugoslavia toward the end of World War II. That part of the world experienced the war at its worst. And I'm of German heritage. There used to be quite a large German population in former Yugoslavia, especially in the northeast. But when the war ended, my parents and I, along with most of the ethnic Germans, ended up in a communist concentration camp. So once they released us from the camp, we did not have any future there because the government confiscated our property. My father had to go to labor camps several times a year while my mother and I were left behind to fend for ourselves. So we tried to get out. I had to leave everything behind, couldn't sell anything. So that was a great difficulty. But we went to Germany, and there was joy and there was fear. I remember crossing the border from Yugoslavia into Austria. The three of us were in a train. The train was stopped at the border, and the communist police came and checked everyone's documents. And then they spent, seemed like an hour or maybe even longer, examining the train underneath, above, everywhere to make sure no one was hiding. And that was the beginning of our journey. We crossed Austria, got into Germany, in a little town called Pitting, right on the border near Salzburg. They housed us in a, looked like a huge auditorium. There was hundreds of people. They just had beds right next to each other. There was no privacy. But what was unusual for us is that right across the street was the Austrian border. And we kept looking for guards, but there were no guards there. And we asked, well, this is a border area. Why aren't there guards? And there just were none. So we stayed there for a few weeks, and then we settled in Hamburg, Germany. Again, this was post-World War II Germany. Housing was critical. We shared a room with another refugee family. They were from East Berlin. So the only thing we had dividing between them and us is old army blankets. So that was the total privacy that we had. But life normalized. I was going to school, and that was a highlight of my life. Going to school, being in a society where I could get the books I wanted to get, actually go and buy books. No one was looking over my shoulder what I was doing. So that was our experience there. And we would have stayed there, except my parents, and particularly my father, became afraid when the Hungarian Revolution took place. The Soviets were fighting the Hungarians there and suppressing the revolution with heavy weapons. And my father said, I'm afraid that if the Soviets were to cross the border into West Germany, the Allies weren't going to help them either. So since we were classified as displaced people, that was a category that was used in those days. I don't know if it's still used. And so then we applied to go to another country out of Europe, and we applied for the United States. We felt totally lost. We just didn't know what to do. But you know, through a series of events, the person who rented us a room for the first couple of weeks put us in touch with the Adventist church. The Adventist pastor came that Friday night with his wife, and to our delight, we could communicate with him because his wife was German-born. And so they invited us to church, and that was the first time in my life that I ever went to any church. That was a great experience. And I have to tell you that we came into an environment where the church really opened their hearts toward us. We didn't have any furniture. That didn't bother us, so we moved in there. My parents got a job. I started going to school. I remember coming home one day. By now, I had a few English words in my possession. I went upstairs, and I saw furniture in the apartment. Beds, table, chairs. And I ran downstairs, and I asked Mrs. Jones, the lady who lived downstairs, in my very limited English, Mrs. Jones, what happened? There's furniture in our apartment. Oh, she said about 4 or 5 men came. They said they were from your church and that they were delivering your furniture. Well, we were not members yet of the Adventist church, but they were from the church there, and they evidently felt they could help us that way, and they furnished our apartment. So that was a beautiful introduction to the church, to these people who didn't know much about refugees, but knew how to share their love and their care for people. Listen to their stories. Just listen to what they have to tell you. They're afraid. They're in an unknown place. Whether it's the language barrier, whether it's cultural, whatever it is, you feel very helpless. Just listen to their stories. They're scared. Refugees leave behind oftentimes terrible environment. But you go to a new place and you're really, really scared. Everything is new. You don't know what to say. You don't know what to ask. You don't know what's right and what's wrong. The church really opened their heart to us. And that's how I was introduced to the Adventist church.
We're coming very close to the end of the program, but I've been thrilled once again, as I am every year, by seeing these reports of what people are doing around Europe and the world to help refugees.
Yes, I'm impressed. Listen, I watched these movies before to come here, but watching again, giving me just a good feeling. I'm really impressed with what we are doing.
And I remember the first time when we worked together on this, and you know, we're there in Greece and we're seeing the desperation there, and we're now seeing people that are having an end result.
This is the results. This is what I like very much. So we saw the first people arriving in Europe, let's say, and now after years, they found a shelter, they found a job, they found a community. This is important.
But of course, it's still a major problem. There are still lots of refugees around the world. There are still many people that are needing to better their lives. And just very quickly, as we come to the end of the program, just tell me one key thing that we can share that can make a difference.
Well, when we started our initiative, Gemeinsam für Flüchtlinge, Together for Refugees, 4 years ago, we needed a lot of volunteers to help people in crisis. Today it's different. Today we need a lot of volunteers to help people to get immigrated in our country.
For me, it's very important that we don't classify people, that we just see them as people, nothing more, nothing less, and to open our hearts and to make them welcome wherever they are coming from.
Yeah, the objective of this program is not to show off or say that we are doing so many good things. The objective is actually for us to understand two things. One, that we are all children of God, so we need to look after each other. And second, that as a church we have a responsibility and a role to play to help the ones that are around us. So if we can, after this time that we have shared here together, take these two lessons, I think it was worth it, the time that we were here with you.
Yes, I want to say thanks, because all these people being involved, I guess they have done a lot, and I can see, those eyes, open eyes again, and the hope in the eyes of these refugees. I think at the end I would say, let's continue, let's be active.
And thank you to you and actually for everybody that participated in the program. We always like to finish a program with music.
With the music, yes, that we will see or we will listen a music that is a special one because come from a choir, a special choir made by refugees that they are integrated with the other people in one town where Sylvia, music director, organized what she called We Speak Music workshop. So we will see, we will listen this music at the end of the program.
But just before that, we want to go to Ian Sweeney. He is the head of the Adventist Church in the British Isles, but he is also chair of the board for ADRA UK. And recently he's been on a trip to Sri Lanka looking at ADRA projects, and he has one or two thoughts he wants to share as we come to the end. So from Corrado and myself, it's goodbye, but enjoy Ian and enjoy the music.
Goodbye.
At the time of this recording, the world has been shocked and horrified at the terrorist/hate attacks against Muslim worshippers in mosques in the city of Christchurch, New Zealand. 50 people are now dead and many are injured following a coordinated murderous attack on the Friday. Wasim al-Sati, a father of two, who moved from the country of Jordan, was one of those who was injured in the attack. He had stated on a Facebook post a few months prior, "One of the major reasons that I have decided to live in New Zealand is that they don't care who you are. They just treat you as a human being and you're allowed to be whatever you want." Now, one of the alleged attackers, in an attempt to justify and rationalize his evil actions, he dehumanized the Muslim worshippers he shot and killed, calling them invaders. The Gospel of Luke records an incident which highlights the fact that even when in possession of a faith and belief in God, we are prone still to dehumanize and label people groups. In Luke chapter 9, verses 52 through 56, an event is recorded which in the authorized version reads as follows. "And Jesus sent messengers before his face, and they went and entered into a village of the Samaritans to make ready for him. And they did not receive him, because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. And when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, 'Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elias did?' But he turned and rebuked them and said, 'Ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of. For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them.'" Now, a bit of context. The Samaritans were a mixed people. They were partly of Hebrew stock, partly of foreign blood, and they were formed after the fall of the northern kingdom of Israel at the hands of the Assyrians, circa 722 BC. The Samaritans worshipped the same God as the Jews, namely Yahweh. They treasured the same holy books, namely the Pentateuch. Yet despite the closeness of the Israelites and the Samaritans by way of heritage and religion, the two peoples avoided each other at best, and at worst, they detested each other. But Luke records that Jesus purposefully decided to make his journey to Jerusalem through Samaria. Jews commonly bypass Samaria because of the strong racial prejudice that existed between the Samaritans and the Jews. Jesus was not ignorant of this fact. In fact, I believe it was because he knew about this that he sent messengers on ahead into Samaria to find hospitality and accommodation. But the Samaritans did not want Jesus nor his disciples in their territory. The disciples were insulted, and James and John, two of the three disciples, remember, that had witnessed Jesus being transfigured in the mountain earlier in Luke chapter 9, they were incensed that the Samaritans refused to extend hospitality to the Lord. So their solution? Kill them all. Righteous indignation simply oozed through them. They requested the Lord's permission to call fire down from heaven on the Samaritans as Elijah had once done. But in reality, they were motivated by a rather thinly veiled racial and cultural prejudice. The sad thing is that the disciples' motivation for wanting to send down holy fire to destroy the Samaritans was the same reason the Samaritans had for refusing to welcome Jesus, namely prejudice and racism. So what might Jesus have been trying to teach us by entering into that unnamed Samaritan village? Well, one lesson, as we focus on refugees, one lesson I would like to focus upon is this. We must take the courageous step of venturing into another people's village to extend the hand of friendship. We must go out of our way to extend the hand of friendship and cordiality to all people, especially people who are not like us. You see, for Jesus Christ, every person is valuable. Ironically, Luke records that the Samaritans rejected Jesus' approach because he was headed towards Jerusalem. Jerusalem, we might note, was regarded by the Samaritans as the arch-enemy city. But Jesus was not making his way to Jerusalem because he believed it was a better city than any other city or town in Samaria. Neither was Jesus headed to Jerusalem for a vacation. Rather, he was headed to Jerusalem to die. Jesus was going to Jerusalem to die for every Samaritan and Jew, every black, every white person, for people from the north, the south, the east, the west. He was going to Jerusalem to die for people of every language, tribe, and culture. He was headed to Jerusalem to die for every man, woman, and child upon planet Earth, because everyone is valuable in the eyes of Christ. I hope that you would be able to join with me in praying that God would grant us the eyes and the heart of Jesus that sees the value and worth in all people. People that Jesus came to this earth in his attempt to save. We, as followers of Christ, must be like him, and we must act like him.